A thick sheet of rain draped the city in gloom, turning daylight into an eerie dusk. The Oldsmobile 98 cut through the wet streets like a shark gliding through dark waters, its tires hissing over the pavement. Inside, Malice held the wheel with a steady grip, his knuckles taut, his focus razor-sharp as he maneuvered through potholes, keeping the ride smooth. Beside him, Jalika clung to his hand, her fingers laced with his in silent devotion. The scent of her vanilla perfume mixed with the lingering leather of the car's interior, an oddly comforting contrast to the storm raging outside. Fred Hammond's voice poured from the speakers, the gospel melodies wrapping the two of them in a strange, holy cocoon. It was Jalika's doing. Her love for Jesus never wavered, even as she sat beside a man the world might call lost. She was his tenderoni, his delicate balance between salvation and damnation, and she loved him with a fire so pure it bordered on blind faith. Malice kept his eyes on the road, his thoughts locked on what lay ahead. Tonight wasn't just another move in the game, it was a crossroads. The underworld had carried him this far, lifting him up with the weight of its sins, and now his time to truly pay had come. He felt it, and somehow he knew Jalika felt it too. They rolled into Brooklyn, pulling up in front of an unmarked store that had no need for signage. If you belonged here, you already knew. Malice cut the engine, his free hand slipping from Jalika's grasp as he opened the door. She hesitated, her instinct telling her to stay put, but her love for him overpowered her logic. She followed. Inside, the air was thick, a mix of incense, herbs, and something else, something old. The walls were lined with shelves of strange artifacts, and behind the counter, an elderly woman watched them with deep-set eyes that seemed to read more than just their faces. Santos, a stocky, middle-aged Latin man, stood waiting, dressed in a loose garb with a fanny pouch strapped across his chest. He looked more like a traveler than the gatekeeper to something darker. He gave Malice a nod before turning to the old woman, speaking in his country's native tongue. Without hesitation, she began filling brown paper bags with plastic Ziploc pouches, stones, herbs, things that carried meaning beyond their appearance. 200, Santos said flatly. Malice peeled back a thick roll of bills, plucking 2 crisp $100 notes from the stack. He slid them across the counter without pause. No words, no questions. The deal was sealed. Jalika watched, silent but heavy with unspoken emotions. Worry, a twinge of fear. This was a world she didn't understand, yet she stepped into it anyway, for him. The exchange was done in minutes. Outside, Santos gave Malice a look. "See you tomorrow," he said before disappearing into the shadows. Back in the car, the storm hadn't let up. The rain slapped against the windshield as Malice guided the Oldsmobile back toward the Bronx, crossing over the Whitestone Bridge. The city lights stretched behind them, casting reflections across the river like broken shards of something once whole. Jalika turned to him, her voice soft but certain. "Malice, I'm here for you. Jesus will set you free, baby. But you gotta stop hustling." She didn't ask if he was going through with tomorrow's meeting. She didn't need to. She felt it in her bones, in her spirit, the kind of knowing that didn't need confirmation. Malice didn't respond right away. Instead, he turned to her, pressing a slow kiss to her cheek. His grip on her hand tightened, not enough to hurt, just enough to say everything he couldn't put into words. Inside, the voice in his head whispered, if only she knew. I'll take her offer. I'll take her prayers. Let her Jesus come for me. But deep in his soul, he knew the truth. The saints got me first. And as they floated through the night, her fingers still wrapped in his, Malice knew one thing for certain. No matter how much she prayed, no matter how tightly she held on, there were some tides a man couldn't swim against. Some debts could only be paid in full.